Everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast, and welcome to Top 5 Friday. Every Friday we look at the top 5 somethings, probably from Blood Bowl, because let's face it, that's what we do. Every now and again we might mix it up a bit, but this week we're going to be looking at the top 5 linemen in Blood Bowl. So what do we mean by linemen? There's kind of two classifications that make a lineman, and the first is the journeyman. If a guy dies on your team, who do you get for free to replace him? It is the 0 to 12, the 0 to 16 positional of your team. That is the lineman role of that team. The second element is if they are literally called a lineman. And what does the lineman do? So the lineman has every role, basically. It is the kind of jack of all trades, the master of none. Generally speaking, they can stand on the line and take a jolly good punching, but they're also a reasonable ball carrier in a pinch, and they're not terrible at blitzing. The lineman is kind of the filler for your team, and what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at my top 5, so my picks for the best kind of filler player on your Blood Bowl teams, and then we're going to look at your guys' top 5. So put a post out last week saying, tell me your top 5 linemen, please, on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything, and naturally, put a spreadsheet together, collated your results, and yeah, you guys have done a great job showing me how wrong I can be sometimes. Or maybe not. So we're going to look at the top 5 linemen, and we'll put a post up. This is going out Friday, obviously, it's on the screen there, Ben. And this is going out Friday, so we'll put a post up probably Saturday saying this is going to be our next top 5. Let's hear your thoughts. Right, without further ado, let's go have a look at my top 5 linemen. My number 5 is the Underworld Goblin. So, the Underworld Goblin is a lineman positional for the Underworld team, and it is a regular Goblin. That's movement 6, strength 2, armor 8+, agility 3+. It's alright. As a lineman on the Underworld team, this guy doesn't necessarily line up on the line all that often. You've got a Troll and 2 regular Skaven. If you need more positionals than that, then the Underworld Goblin is going on the line. So, downside, it's strength 2. Upside, it's got dodge, so although they're going to be getting 2 die blocks on you, that dodge is going to keep you alive. Just ask every Amazon coach ever. And you can play around that a little bit. But the benefit of the Underworld Goblin, before we even look at the mutations, because that is another great piece about them, is goblins are actually really quite good. They are underrated, massively. They're strength 2 and they're stunty, so they do have the tendency to die. But they're also armor 8, and like I said, they've got dodge, so they are going to survive a lot of punches. And even armor 8+ is pretty decent in the realm of Blood Bowl. You know, it's less than a 50% chance of having their armor broken. That is really useful. But the great strength of the Underworld Goblin is that, yeah, it's not great in a stand-up toe-to-toe fight, but that cheeky agility 3+ with a stunty dodge means that you get a bunch of linemen, and any one of them can at any time blitz almost anywhere. Alright, it's probably going to be with a 2 die block, or grab the ball and make a break for it. And they've got dodge, so when you do catch up with them, you're going to roll dodge star, and the goblin's going to be absolutely fine. They are remarkably resilient, but they are incredibly dodgy. And they get mutations, so these guys get even better. Now, this entire list is full of positionals that you're, generally speaking, quite happy taking a punt on with a general skill. These guys are way up there, and then you've got mutation skills on top. So saving up 6 SPP, or just getting 6 SPP with Underworld Goblin and taking a random general skill is going to give you a really cool, unique Goblin, and it's going to be a massive asset to the team. If you end up with a Wrestle Goblin on an Underworld team, or any Goblin, it's going to have those opportunities to jump in somewhere on a 3+ and go for a cheeky 2 die up Wrestle. That is going to work a lot of the time. If you get a kick goblin, that's going to be absolutely sweet as well. You get a block goblin, you've got a ball carrier. You've got sure hands, you've got a ball carrier. There's a load of potential here. And then there are mutations. 2 heads, Underworld Goblin, 2+ everywhere, forever, except with Prehensile Tau. So, Underworld Goblins have just got this incredible, unlimited potential, essentially. Horns, awesome. Claw is going to be entertaining when it works. There's just an absolute ton you can do with the Underworld Goblin. So for me, that is why I rate it so highly that it is my number 5. My number 4 is the Dwarf Blocker. Okay, so we talked at the beginning about the fact that there are two classifications of linemen. One is the journeyman positional, and the other is what a lineman does or is tagged a lineman. The dwarf blocker is a fantastic blocker. Not a spoiler alert, but if you've seen our top 5 blockers, it does pretty well. And it's doing pretty well here again. So, it has the lineman classification that it is your journeyman piece. This guy is a brawler. He fights, he battles. You put this dwarf blocker anywhere, and it will do great stuff. It starts with block, it starts with tackle, it starts with thick skull and armor 75 plus. No, I misread that. It's armor 10 plus. That's basically the same thing. So the dwarf blocker is an absolute tank. It suffers on movement, being only movement 4, and it suffers on agility at agility 4 plus. But let's flip that around. If you've got a team reroll, that is still a 75% chance of you picking up the ball. Now, I'm a big ogre coach. 4 plus to pick up the ball, no problems at all. Hey, just ask Khemri guys everywhere. 4 plus is fine, especially when you've got a reroll. So even when you need to do ball stuff, the dwarf blocker is going to be right there for you. But the reason this guy is rated so highly is because if you have a journeyman incident, that dwarf blocker on the line is going to get a little bit of assistance, and it's going to be 2 dive blocking with block. And it's not going to matter that it's a journeyman. And that's the real great strength of the blocker, is they will never go down, but if they do, the free one is going to do just as much damage, basically, as the paid one on your team. In fact, it's just incredible. So this guy is the most consistent and solid piece, I think, in Blood Bowl. Hampered by movement, hampered by agility, but if you want a guy to put on the line that classifies as a journeyman or a lineman, then the dwarf blocker is king. My number 3 is the Wood Elf Lineman. So this is our elf. Why the Wood Elf Lineman? Movement 7, agility 2 plus, still strength 3, armor 8 plus is a bit soft. But at movement 7 and agility 2 plus, this lineman makes other teams' positionals jealous. If any team had the option to take a Wood Elf lineman as a positional, 0 to 1, 0 to 2, every team would run one. You know it's true. I mean, they'd probably put animosity and loner on it, and it would just be poor old world alliance. But yeah, so the Wood Elf lineman is the best of the elf linemen. It's got the movement of 7, and it's got that agility 2 plus. I think the passing's only about 4 plus, which is basically on par with everything else at the moment anyway, so that's fine. That's fine. Basically, most of these guys have got passing 4 plus or worse. But the real key thing here with the Wood Elf lineman is that before any skills at all, it's going to dodge anywhere you want. It's got that movement 7, so it can be anywhere you want. It's still strength 3, so it's not particularly vulnerable. Now, when you line up a bunch of Wood Elf linemen on a line against murder teams, they are going to get destroyed. Anyone is. But at strength 3, they are reasonably resilient. Armor 8 plus is going to be a vulnerability, but they are only there for 1 turn, and then they use that cheeky 2 plus to dodge away and stop getting punched in the face. And at that point, your team goes from having a front line to just having 11 players everywhere running a skirmish offense, with every one of them being movement 7 and catching the ball and dodging out on a 2 plus. This is the key to Wood Elves. Everyone loves the war dancers. The catchers are not bad, and that thrower is pretty sweet. But your baseline for the team, like I've said, is a player that any other team would die to have, because agility 2 plus and movement 7 is just going to give you a stretch play without any skills at all. They get GA access as well, so you can take dodge immediately. You can take sure hands if you want to create a ball carrier. You can just do almost everything with this lineman except pass. But then it's still a 4 plus, and we just talked about that with the dwarf. 4 plus with a reroll, it's mostly going to work. 3 plus with an integral reroll, for example, sure hands, never going to work. But a cheeky 4 plus with a team reroll, you are quids in. So for me, the Wood Elf lineman ranks at number 3 because it is so versatile. The bar is so low, and you are fast enough and agile enough to score touchdowns. And if the Wood Elf team wasn't so star heavy, these guys, if you just had a team of Wood Elf linemen, you'd be fine. And each one of them would develop into some kind of positional, and you would end up with a really interesting team that would still win a load of games and that is remarkable. Number 2, we have got the Chaos Beastman. So the Beastman is just a phenomenal player. It is a lineman, it is a journeyman lineman. I think it's classified as a runner lineman, but let's face it guys, this guy is practically a blitzer. And the reason for that is because it is a human lineman. It's got movement 6, it's got strength 3, it's got armor 9+, it stands there, it gets punched. No problem at all. It's got a punch back, it's got decent strength. It's got agility 3+, which means it can do stuff. It's got an average passing stat like the rest of the world. This Beastman just does everything that a human lineman can do. But there is one incredible bonus. In fact, there's two, but the first one is the most important. Where it starts with horns. This guy blitzes on a 4+. Oh, not a strength. He blitzes on a 4+. That would be bad. That would be very bad. But this guy blitzes at strength 4. That cheeky +1 strength is massive. Okay, you can only blitz once a turn. However, you will only need one blitz per turn. The Beastman is a really resilient player. Strength 3, armor 9+ is going to take punches over and over and over again. But this guy is going to be able to perform the role of a blitzer in a pinch without any skills at all. It's also going to do a really good job of getting the heck out of a problem if it gets into one. So if it ends up with the ball, generally speaking, a cheeky strength 4 blitz is going to be able to 2-die your opponent away. You can follow up if you knock them down and just break out, or you can just smash them, run the other way. Movement 6 is still plenty of squares for you to get out of dodge, and let's face it, the rest of the Chaos team does a pretty good job of performing screening and caging, so the Beastman gets to absolutely excel. Then you've got skills. So because of the access of the Beastman, which I believe is general strength and mutation, where do you not go? So we talked about this when we talk about the Chaos team development. There's so many angles you can go with the Beastman. You can take a random general and then develop it that way. Sure hands becomes a ball carrier. Block becomes another blitzer. You know, there's a ton of stuff you can do with them. If you end up with a Beastman with kick, that is a great player too. That in a pinch can be a 3+ ball carrier with strength 4. That is not a bad downside at all. Wrestle is great on these guys as well. And then there are mutations as well. And let's face it, a Beastman with Horn's Claw is going to do some serious work. And the fact that, I need to double check this now, but I'm pretty sure they get strength access as well, means that you can go Mighty Blow with these guys quickly. You can go guard with these guys really quickly. You can do an absolute ton with this player. And it is just down to you to decide where and how. Yes, general strength mutation. Good. So the Beastman is, for me, one of the best linemen in the game because it does that job of ball carrier, of blitzer, of being punched in the face. It takes all of those challenges on, and if you want a bunch of block guard Beastmen, it's literally 14 SPP. Yeah, alright. But these guys can also score. If you want a ball carrier, again, that's not a lot of SPP. You take sure hands, you take block. It doesn't matter what you do with the Beastman. You save up for a stat increase. The Beastman just becomes an absolute monster. The Beastman is the most potent blank canvas, I think, in Blood Bowl. There's just nothing bad about where these guys go, and they are fantastic. They are the key to successful Chaos teams. I run a Minotaur and an entire team of Beastmen, and you know what? I didn't lose many games, and I didn't massively miss the Chaos Warriors. It's really sweet. Anyway, Beastman here, great player, my number 2. My number 1 is going to get me in trouble with a whole bunch of you guys, and that's okay, because this is my number 1. I have chosen the Slann Lineman to be the best lineman in Blood Bowl. Now hear me out, hear me out. What if you took a human lineman, average human lineman, 50k, great player, then you gave it leap, very long, no, you gave it pogo stick and very long legs for 10k. You are telling me, guys, that if you had a human team, you wouldn't say, I can take block, that's 20k, okay, that's good. Or I can take the ability to 3+ leap anywhere, whenever I want, forever, for 10k. The Slann Lineman at the moment, sitting at 60k, is a 10k increment for one incredible, and I mean extraordinary, literally skill, and an extra mutation on top of that. It's fantastic. So the reason the Slan Lineman for me is the best lineman in Blood Bowl is because, like we talked about with the others, first and foremost, it's your journeyman. If you stand it on the line, it's strength 3, it's armor 9+. It's gonna be fine. It is gonna get punched, and it's gonna get back up off the ground. Now, eventually, the Slan Lineman does get smushed quite a lot. That's because the rest of the team doesn't have an absolute ton of strength or positionals. But these guys coming in at 60k, movement 6, strength 3, agility 3+, passing 4+, so they even pass as well as every other lineman, armor 9+, pogo stick, very long legs, just makes them the most versatile lineman in the game. And it's boosted by the fact that secondaries can now be bought as well, so agility and strength is just a matter of saving up for SPP. With armor 9+, with strength 3+, they're probably going to get there. Let's take that away. These guys are a single 3+ reroll, at 3+ roll from just being 2 squares away from where they want to be. It's a risk, and you shouldn't be pogo sticking around all that often. But really, what this guy is, and the reason he's so potent, is because he is a human lineman that can teleport 2 squares whenever he wants for a single 3+ die roll. How powerful is that? So these guys can bamf from one place, appear in another, on a blitz, get inside a cage. There's no dodge roll. If your opponent cages up, all you have to do is tag the corners, and you will end up with a 1-die block. This guy's strength 3, bamf, 3+. He will appear on any side of the cage you want him to appear on. And with strength 3 and movement 6 and the ability to leap, I'm now going to call it teleporting because that just makes sense with these guys. You know, with the ability to just teleport out and appear somewhere else, they're going to score touchdowns as well because they're agility 3+. They are as good as most teams' ball carriers. Doesn't have sure hands, but they've got general, so if you want to, you can do it. These guys are cracking candidates for a cheeky 3+ general role anyway. Sure hands, you've now got the ball carrier. Block, you've now got either a blocker or a blitzer. Obviously blitzer. Wrestle. Wrestle on a Slan lineman is just a gift from the Blood Bowl gods. Bamf, 3+, he appears next to your ball carrier and then wrestles him to the ground. The ball comes out, and you know what? You've got an entire other team of people that can just bamf on a 3+ onto that ball. In fact, you've got some cool catches too. You guys know how much I love Slan catches. So, while the Slan lineman is from the expanded and optional teams from the NAF team, it's been in Blood Bowl for so long that I feel like it counts, because the Slan lineman is just an incredible piece that does so much. Anyway, those are my top 5, and if you took the Slan out, there's a couple of other options. We've got to have some honourable mentions here, guys. The Zombie. The Zombie was the best lineman in the game, but now its ability to never pass ever has just ruined it. You didn't get to do it very often, but it just loses any kind of flexibility. All the Zombie does now is just tag. And I know that's all they did before, but there was the glory days of running all zombie leagues or going for stretch plays and being able to go for that cheeky quick pass on a 4+. Like, it was cool, like the lineman could do stuff. Now the zombie lineman is just a movement 4-piece with no agility and no utility. It is just a punch bag, which is a shame. Snotlings and Noblars are fantastic as well. Sidestep dodge is just the most frustrating thing in the world. You can have one dude who's costing 15k tagging up any player on the game, and he's going to follow him around because he's got a cheeky sidestep as well. I think I'd have to give Snotlings the edge there because they've got swarming, and that is pretty useful too. When you can swarm in your journeyman and they're just extra players on the pitch, that is pretty sweet. Honestly, there is a ton of great linemen. Skaven are great. They tend to die. Wood Elves are better than them. Each of these linemen that we've looked at today have had a knack. And quite frankly, if you took a vanilla team and you gave any one of these linemen as a 0-2, 0-4 positional in any other team, you'd want to take them. If you had 0-2, 0-4 Slan, that's your Air Force. You know, if you had some Beastmen, those are your blitzers. If you had some dwarves, those are your blockers. If you had some wood elves, those are your catchers, or, you know, catchers, probably runners. You know, if you had your goblins, that's your stunty thing. All these linemen fulfill an extra kind of positional role, and when your base line as a team is other guys' positionals, it's pretty sweet. Anyway, let's move on and have a quick look at your top 5. Okay, so now let's take a look at your top 5 linemen. So like I said at the beginning of the video, you guys let me know in the comments and things like that what your top 5 picks were. I put them all together, gave them a scoring system, and this is what we came up with. So your number 5 is the Amazon Linewoman. So again, this is from the Team of Legends PDF. So they don't have models for this team yet, but there's a ton of cool third-party teams. This piece comes in at 50k, movement 6, strength 3, agility 3+, and has dodge. So the downside is armor 8+, so a little bit more fragile than a human lineman, but does have dodge. So when we talked about the goblin, we said that actually dodge kind of compensates for having low armor a lot of the time. And let me tell you, when you're strength 3, Amazons do just fine at standing there, being punched, and punching back. Generally speaking, 3+ dodge without stunty is not great because it doesn't give you the opportunity to cage dive, and if you've got 1 or more tackle zones, it can be a bit risky, but it will absolutely help you in the pinch. So the Amazon Linewoman is not a bad shout at all for your number 5 line person, I guess. Number 4 was the Skink. Now, that's going to surprise nobody because the Skink is a really powerful positional. Movement 8. Strength 2, agility 3+ with stunty means that that little dude can be everywhere at once. 8 movement is awesome. So I took the Goblin over the Skink kind of for the stunty slot, 40k versus 60k. You don't often see the Skinks taking a bruising on the line. And I think the key thing for me is that if a Skink goes down, you lose more. Whereas it's quite acceptable to take a Goblin and just suicide blitz into a cage. You can do it with a Skink, but the Skink is really tailored towards scoring. And I think the Goblin, especially the Underworld Goblin, where you get those mutations, just has more potential. It's slower, but has got more potential in my opinion. Number 3 was the Dark Elf Lineman, so I went with the Wood Elf Lineman for my kind of elf pick for this one. You guys went with Dark Elf, and you know what? That is not a bad pick at all. 70k, movement 6, strength 3, armor 9+, and general and agility for the Dark Elf means that you can have a blodger in just 2 skills, and blodging 2+ agility is absolutely pretty sweet. Same can be said for the Wood Elf. I went with the Wood Elf over the Dark Elf because I think movement 7 just allows you to do that a little bit more. But let's face it, Dark Elves are a heck of a team, and these linemen do such a good job at screening. They can redeploy, they've got the armor to take a punch, and they've got the agility to get out and score when they need to. So Dark Elves being your number 3 pick, I think, is a solid choice. Number 2 for you, it's the Chaos Beastman. So I got one right at least, so that's pretty sweet. Talked about the Beastman, it's a fantastic positional, great blank slate, and just an absolute power play. It's basically a blitzer, but don't tell anyone. And then your number 1 is the same as everybody else's number 1. It is the Dwarf Blocker. That's right. 175 points. The Dark Elf Beastman came in at 105. So the Dwarf Blocker destroyed everybody else. Dark Elf was 78, Skink 69, Amazon 62. Then we had Norse, Orc, Human, Zombie, Wood Elf. Skaven hiding out at number 11, Goblin at 12, Snotling at 13, Hobgoblin got a load of votes as well. So there's a bunch of cool linemen out there, and all of them are pretty sweet. The thing is with my top 5 and your top 5 is any one of those players would make a brilliant positional on another team. Like, just absolutely fantastic. If you could take 0 to 4 Dwarf Blockers, 0 to 4 Wood Elf Linemen, 0 to 4 Beastmen Blitzers, you know, it would be fantastic. You would absolutely snap them up. And that's really cool. When your team is built of linemen that other teams would merrily buy as a positional, you're in a really good spot. I'm going to wrap this video up here now, guys. Thanks so much for letting me know your top 5 pick. Keep an eye out for tomorrow. We're going to put up our next one. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I think it's Stunties. That'll be quite interesting. Come on, Underworld Goblin. Right, I am going to disappear. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. And we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Have a great weekend. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the show even further, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out. Or come and join us in our Patreon, link below, where you get early access to our content and monthly competitions. See you later.